Okay. I've got to the point where I've gone through all of the processes and everything like that, and now I've gotten to the point where it's like my emotions are even irrelevant to me anymore. It's just like something will come up and I'll just be like, oh, wow, look at that, that's so crazy, that sadness, it's all of it is irrelevant, and now I am just in love. I love everything, and I'm so in love with the feeling of love. And I feel like sometimes I maybe scare people because I just gush all over people.
You only scare those who are not in the vortex.
It's just so great. I love loving things, loving people, appreciating people, and just expressing. And it's just, I have no idea where this is going to take me, and it's just huge. It's huge.
All right. So now, hundreds of people in the room, and we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel for taking it higher. So our question to you is do you think it's possible for yourself? Now, there are a lot of us here participating. Do you think it's possible for yourself to take an in the vortex moment and milk it for a half an hour? Do you think it's possible? Do you think that sometimes an out of the vortex moment can give you a little bit of a catapult into the vortex? So, since our goal is to get in the vortex and stay there and milk it, and you can see that it's not that easy of a thing to do. In other words, it did get a little boring. You have to admit it. People started just kind of saying the same thing. They used the word love. I just love this and I just love that. But it didn't feel like true inspiration calling them into new places, did it? So what do you think could be the catalyst to keep inspiring you to higher and higher places inside the vortex? What do you think it is? Do you think it's contrast? It is, isn't it? Contrast within the vortex. Contrast within the vortex. In other words, inside the vortex, going from off-the-wall enthusiasm to some peacefulness, to some sincere interest about something, to some less interest, to, in other words, you could be borderline bored inside the vortex and not actually bounce out of the vortex, but then from that feeling of not quite enough, something to think about inside the vortex. In other words, sometimes one of our friends got in the chair and just talked really, really fast. Sometimes they ran. In other words, do you think that if you run, that it builds any enthusiasm in your body? Do you think running to the chair might put you in a place of being higher in the vortex than if you just sort of saunter up? There are all kinds of things. In other words, we're just wanting you to realize that we don't want you to hype it. We don't want you to get into the vortex and try to hype it. We don't want you to pretend it. We don't want you to make work of it. We want you to understand that when you're in the vortex, it really flows easily. And when we ask you to do a rampage in the vortex and you're not really at rampage level before we ask, you can feel that it doesn't really get going, and then it falls into the category of trying too hard. So what we're getting at here with you, this has been a really good demonstration of energy moving. We want you all to just acknowledge that you're in the vortex at one time or another on several occasions through the day. And sometimes it just feels like a place of utter peacefulness. Sometimes it feels like a place of appreciation that just wells up in you. Sometimes it feels like love. Sometimes it feels like eagerness. But in almost every case, it is a sort of brief spiking that as you acknowledge it will come to you frequently. We would like you to feel the vortex as this place where you move from interest to eagerness to love to appreciation to peacefulness. But we would like you to realize that as you hang around there in any of that range of emotions, that the more you are able to maintain your vibrational frequency there, the more within the vortex you will begin to spike, so that the lowest of your day will still be in the vortex and the highest of your day will be off the wall sort of enthusiasm. We want you to feel moderate about the vortex. We don't want you to hype the vortex. That really is the message that we want to give you. We don't want you to hype it. We want you to feel natural within it. We would rather that you feel worthy and loved and blessed even then eager and passionate, because the loved and worthy and blessed is sustainable from moment to moment to moment, where that high-flying enthusiasm, the specifics of it, they're only going to come occasionally. So we don't want you to misunderstand when you're in the vortex. We don't want you to think that the vortex is always that bouncing off the wall stuff. We want you to realize that when sometimes just sitting in quiet contemplation, in a feeling of utter well-being, you're in the vortex and you are doing the work. In fact, any time that you're not feeling negative emotion, you're doing the work.